This is the Nintendo Switch, and I know I'm pretty late when it comes to making this video. They are really hard to come by. I had to pick mine up through a resale, but it was definitely worth all the trouble. This isn't going to be your typical review video so much as it is more so my impression on the device and why I recommend it. So let's get started. Although at the moment the Switch seems to be more of a Zelda machine more than anything else, there are a few mentionable titles that are worth picking up or at least taking a look at. The two that are in my sights would be Fast RMX, which is almost like what F-Zero was but better, and Snipper Clips, which is kind of like a fun little party game, both of which in my opinion are worth the amount of money they cost and should both be fun. Aside from those two titles, there are still some virtual console titles that you could pick up for about $8 that should keep you entertained at least until the new releases start to roll in about April and later this summer. A lot of people were concerned that the Nintendo Switch wasn't going to be putting out as much graphic horsepower as most people wanted it to. They were expecting a next-gen console, and what we got was something that was just slightly behind current generations. Or maybe a little more than slightly. But in my opinion, the configurations and the flexibility of this device is what really sold it to me. Now, my opinion on the Nintendo Switch is heavily influenced by the only game I've been playing on it so far, which is Zelda Breath of the Wild. But setting that aside, the best part about any console or any game product in general is not wanting to put it down. And the best part of the Nintendo Switch is that you don't have to put it down. And in handheld mode, it resembles like a blown up version of a Game Boy Advance or even just an improved version of the Nintendo Wii U tablet. And you can easily go from handheld mode to TV mode, and it instantaneously switches your display from the handheld tablet to the TV that you want to play on. And the configuration I found myself using the least would be tabletop mode, but I can see how it would be a little more convenient once you started to get into local multiplayer games and split up the Joy-Con into two controllers. Now, Nintendo packed the Switch full of some I/O features that are pretty important and allow a lot of potential for the device to grow and evolve. So Nintendo went with game cartridges on this console. I think they skipped over discs because they wanted to make something a little more convenient to carry and wouldn't get scratched up since you would be traveling with maybe a handful of these games. They also included a 3.5mm aux port. Usually that wouldn't be a big deal, but recently a lot of mobile technology has been cutting that out, but Nintendo made sure to include that. One of the features that stood out to me the most was that they went with USB Type-C. Now, for people that are already in the USB Type-C ecosystem, that means they might already have some portable chargers laying around or maybe some dongles that could potentially work, because we know that the dock is pretty much a glorified dongle that allows you to pretty much link up to your TV. So hopefully in the future that'll allow for someone to connect a cheaper third-party dock and maybe use that as well for their phones. Underneath the stand they included an SD card slot, which in theory should support up to 2 terabytes, but there aren't too many SD cards that come close to that at the time being. I like the flexibility of being able to upgrade storage with an SD card, but unfortunately the Nintendo Switch only comes with 32 gigs of onboard memory, which most will be taken up with a few digital downloads, and so an SD card is almost a necessity. So at this point it shouldn't come as any surprise that a tablet in 2017 has a touch display on here, but it does. And my main reason for wanting to mention this is because a lot of people are worried that the dock is scratching the consoles. Whether or not it is, in my opinion, I would say it's a lot safer to pick up a screen protector anyways, because this is a mobile device and you are carrying it around a lot, and we've all seen people walking around with broken screens on their phones. So go ahead and pick up a glass screen protector for this one. Now, I don't know if we can consider the controller rails to be I/O, but this does allow some potential for modular Joy-Cons or maybe third-party controls or specific controls that come with specific games. I don't know if this would be something Nintendo is going to take advantage of, but it is something we can consider that could be possible in the future. So there are definitely some accessories that you most definitely want to pick up for the Switch, or at least seriously consider picking up. I already mentioned that you want a glass screen protector, or at least any screen protector at least to protect it, since it is a touch display. I would also recommend picking up a portable battery pack. Some of you might already have one laying around, so at the very least it wouldn't hurt to pick up a USB-A to USB-C type cable, that way you can charge your Switch on the go. And it almost goes without saying that you'll most likely need an SD card for your Switch since it only has 32 gigabytes of onboard storage. I personally went with the 256 gig and I don't plan on worrying about that anytime soon again. I also definitely want to pick up some Surge Switch grips. They're these grips that you can apply to the Joy-Cons whenever you're using them individually, and it gives you a little bit more of a handle, and it gives it more of a shape of a typical controller, making it a little easier to hold and play games with. So I understand that there's a lot of hype around the Nintendo Switch, and a lot of people are skeptical about it. Personally, I'm a big fan of this product, and I've always sort of liked Nintendo games and wanted to get back into it, and this sort of sold me on it. I think the device has a lot of potential, and Nintendo really needs to make a comeback, and I think this could be it for them. Thank you guys for watching. If you saw my last video, I mentioned something about being really excited about my next product I was going to review. I do really like this product, but this is not the video that I intended to be making this month. I had a little bit of a delay with the product I was going to be receiving, but stay tuned, I'll definitely let you guys know.